Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Working Beehives mod, which is being made by user Monkey Spunk. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is, well, working beehives, which, when built into your settlements, will produce delicious honey for you, which you can either use on its own, or turn into mead, and that is a wonderful thing. In fact, everything about this mod is quite awesome. Bees are cool, honey is delicious, and mead is just, oh, I love me some mead. So let's take a look at what all we do get here, and to start, we're gonna have to head into the workshop mode, and to actually get this mod to function here, you are going to need the prerequisite mod of the settlement menu manager, and with that, you'll have a working beehives category in here, with then a beehives subcategory within. And inside that, we have 6 different beehives for you to make. We have 4 different properly constructed apiaries, and then 2 feral wild beehives, so whichever your aesthetic purpose is that you want for them, and, well, what you're trying to get will depend on what you want to build. So let's talk about them. And the properly built apiaries come in 4 different aesthetic choices. Each one, though, will require 7 wood, 2 steel, and 1 honeybee queen, which we'll talk about here in a moment as to how you get those. And these will produce for you not just honey, but also food, so long as, of course, you do have a settler actually tending to it, which is pretty darn cool. And they come in either this sort of rough wood version with some white stripes, a rough wood version with some blue paint on there, a just sort of normal wooden version, and then another rough wood with green paint. So whatever your aesthetic choice is, you can work with it, and that's pretty nice. And overall, they just do look good. I really do like the construction of these. Now, as for the feral beehives, we only have 2, and apparently they were made, if I'm remembering the mod page right at the moment, made by retexturing tree fungus, which is pretty cool because they actually do look really good when you do place them around on trees or the sides of buildings, etc., and it makes sense considering their feral beehives to be in those locations. And you only get 2 different aesthetic options here, and they are easier to build though, only requiring a honeybee queen. Now, the difference between this and the proper beehives is these ones, as you can see, do not require a settler and will not produce food. They will still produce honey, which you'll have to manually harvest, but they'll do it at a slower rate than the properly built beehives. So if you have settlers, you can kind of go with active production using these, but if you don't have settlers, you can go with passive production with these, and that's sort of the difference between the two besides their aesthetics. So let's go take a look at all of them in action over here and talk about first how to get a queen bee. And it's actually quite simple, but expensive. You are gonna have to go down to a Vault 81, and inside Vault 81, you're gonna have to go talk to Maria Somerset, and she will sell a queen bee. The whole idea behind the mod is that the only bees left in the Commonwealth were cryogenically preserved from the pre-war period, and Vault 81's the only place that has them in a suitable supply to sell. Now, they are, like I said, expensive. I bought one earlier and it cost me about 1,000 caps, but there is one within the vault you can steal, and apparently there are 2 others around the Commonwealth that you can find in the world. Just, you know, think about where they might be cryogenically frozen, perhaps. And with those bees, you'll then be able to build these. Now, when you go to harvest any of these apiaries or feral beehives, there is a slight, very small chance you may get a queen bee as extra loot along with the honey that they provided. So you can either steal one of 3 in the world, buy them from Vault 81, or maybe possibly get a chance of harvesting one from your beehives. And the queen bee is a pretty cool thing over here. You can see it in the jar. And yeah, very nicely made. I really do like it. If we get in close, it might be hard to see on YouTube, but you can see the wings flapping away there. And of course, once you build the beehives, you'll then be able to harvest this wonderful honey, and as I mentioned at the beginning, you can then turn that honey into mead, which let's actually just quickly look at how that's done. At any cooking station in the world, you'll just have to go in to beverages, and you'll be able to make that mead for 1 antiseptic, 1 honey, and 3 purified water. And yeah, it's pretty darn wonderful. Now let's actually head into my Pip-Boy real quick and take a look at these 3 objects in there to see the stats. Now if we go into inventory, the honey and the mead are under aid, and the honey, as you can see here, again looks pretty darn good, and it will give you 300 hit points and add 1 to charisma, but give you a couple of rads with 5, but a useful object nonetheless. Now the mead will bump you up 100 hit points, but add luck and charisma and no radiation. And again, just looks pretty darn good there. I do like the bottle that was made for this. And then for the bees, you'll actually find those under junk. They are a junk item, and you may not want to recycle them, as you'll only get glass, and you'll lose a very, very expensive honeybee queen. Again, like I said, when I went to buy one at Vault 81, it cost me about 1,000 caps to purchase. So yeah, pretty pricey piece of glass if you accidentally recycle this into just its constituent parts. So watch that. Watch that. But yeah, once you do have these built, it's pretty nice. Both the passive production from these wild honey beehives here and the active production from these apiary beehives is pretty good. Now, any settler will only be able to handle 3 of these hives at once. I have 4 of them built here, and 1 person handling all 3 of the ones functioning, and this one getting left behind here. Of course, it is 2 food, so that's why only 1 person can handle 3 hives. But again, with the feral hives, there is no person necessary. Once it's ready to go, you just have to walk up to it and harvest it like any other crop in the world. Now, it may be hard to see on YouTube with its compression, but whenever you're close to any of the feral hives or the apiaries, there's a particle effect of little bees buzzing around, and I'm going to shut up a second so you can hear bees buzzing. So a nice little sound effect there too. It's pretty low, so it may be hard for you to hear, but hopefully you did get it there. But in the world, it's just quite a nice little extra bit of aesthetic, well, both visual and audio aesthetic, for you to have when you're going around your apiaries to see the little bees buzzing around. They are very tiny particles, but they are there, and the buzzing noise itself is quite cool. It makes it feel a lot more like, well, a working beehive farm, which... what is the term for that? I know apiaries is those things. What's a term for a bee farm? I can't think of that right now. Okay, I'll have to look that up later. But yes, all in all, this is a pretty cool mod that not only will help you produce more food for your settlements, but a fun new resource in both honey, as well as a great new alcohol for you to produce in the form of mead. So if you'd like to check this mod out for yourself, which I would certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description, as per usual. But that is going to be it for today, my friends. I hope you all have enjoyed, and that you do come back for the next, when hopefully we'll be looking at yet another wonderful mod. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one!